Me and my wife had been tight on money. Not the cute kind of broke where you laugh about eating ramen for dinner. I'm talking the kind where you check your account balance and feel your stomach drop through the goddamn floor. Bills stacking up like a house of cards, each one threatening to bring the whole thing down. Fridge half empty, and what was in there was mostly condiments, ketchup packets we'd swiped from fast food joints, expired milk that we'd been sniffing daily to see if it was still usable. The tension in our apartment was thicker than concrete. You could cut it with a knife, if we could afford a decent one. We'd been married 3 years, but lately it felt like sharing space with an angry stranger. Jamie, that's my wife, she'd started getting snippy about everything. I'd leave a dirty glass in the sink, and suddenly it was like I'd committed a capital offense. But I got it. Money stress does that to people. Turns molehills into mountains. One night, after I'd worked a 12-hour shift at the warehouse, she sat down next to me on our sagging couch, the one her parents had gifted us when we first got married, now with a suspicious stain on one cushion that no amount of cleaning could remove. I found something, she said, not looking at me directly. She was fidgeting with her wedding ring, twisting it around her finger. The cheap gold was starting to leave a green mark. A side gig. I raised my eyebrows, took a swig of the cheapest beer money could buy. Yeah. Babysitting. She tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. For some couple that lives in Oak Ridge Heights. Oak Ridge Heights. The fancy part of town where all the houses look like they belong in magazines. Where people have actual gardeners and housekeepers instead of doing that shit themselves. Rich folks, huh? I said. Yeah. The Carmichaels. He's some kind of investment banker or something. She's. I don't know. She organizes charity galas, I think. Jamie shrugged. They've got a 4-year-old. Need someone 3 times a week while the mom does her Pilates or shopping or whatever these rich women do. I figured, alright, it's honest work. What could go wrong? Jamie had always been good with kids, always talked about having our own someday when we weren't drowning in debt. The pay was decent too, $25 an hour, which was more than I made breaking my back at the warehouse. That's great, I said, and I meant it. Maybe this would ease some of the pressure. Maybe we could start saving for something better than this cracker box apartment with the leaky faucet that the landlord refused to fix. Jamie started the job the following week. She'd come home with these little stories about the kid, Ellie, who apparently had more toys than a department store at Christmas. Sometimes Jamie would smell different. Expensive soap, I figured, from using their bathroom. Sometimes she'd have a flush to her cheeks, a lightness I hadn't seen in months. For a while, things seemed to be looking up. The edge had come off our fights. We actually had sex one night without it feeling like a chore, like we were just going through the motions of what married people are supposed to do. The fridge had actual food in it. I even splurged on a decent bottle of whiskey one payday, thinking maybe we could celebrate the small victory of not having our electricity shut off for a change. Then came that Thursday in April. I remember it was raining, that miserable kind of drizzle that soaks through your clothes no matter what you wear. My shift at the warehouse had been cut short, inventory day got cancelled because some big shipment didn't arrive. Boss told us all to go home at 2 p.m., said we'd make up the hours next week. I should have texted Jamie, told her I was coming home early. But my phone was low on battery, and I figured, why not surprise her? Maybe we could actually spend an afternoon together, watch something on our crappy TV, order a pizza with the extra cash from her babysitting gig. The apartment was quiet when I walked in, which was weird because Jamie's shoes, her only decent pair, the ones she wore to the Carmichaels, were by the door. I called out her name, but got no answer. Just that unsettling silence that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And then I heard it. A sound that stopped me cold in my tracks. Moaning. The unmistakable sound of someone in the throes of pleasure, trying not to be too loud about it. I swear my heart stopped beating for a solid 10 seconds. My body went numb, starting from my fingertips and working its way up to my chest. The sound was coming from the spare bedroom, the one we jokingly called the kids' room even though we had no kids. The room where Jamie folded laundry and I kept my workout equipment that I never used. Time seemed to slow down as I crept across our living room, my footsteps silent on the carpet. The moaning got louder, Jamie's voice, no doubt about it. I'd heard those sounds directed at me often enough, though not lately. Not for a long time, if I'm being honest. I reached the door, which was cracked open just enough to see inside. My hands were shaking so bad I had to press them against my thighs to steady them. I leaned forward, my breath caught in my throat and peered through the crack. There it was, my wife, flat on her back in the bed, her legs wrapped around some guy's waist. Her head was thrown back, eyes closed, mouth open in that expression I used to think was just for me. And the guy, tanned, gym body type with a sleeve tattoo and that kind of styled hair that costs more than a week's worth of groceries. They were so deep in it they didn't even notice me standing there, watching. My wife and this stranger, this man I'd never seen before, going at it like animals in heat in our goddamn apartment, in the middle of a Thursday afternoon when she was supposed to be watching some rich brat. Wait. Thursday afternoon. It took me a second, but then I realized, that's the dad. The kid's dad. Mr. fucking Carmichael, investment banker extraordinaire, was balls deep in my wife in my own home. I could have exploded right then. Could have busted in, started swinging, torn the place apart. That's what they show in movies, right? The wronged husband, going berserk at the sight of his wife's betrayal. But something cold and calculating clicked into place inside me. A clarity I didn't know I was capable of. I backed up, silent as a shadow, and pulled out my phone. My hands were steady now as I opened the camera app and hit record. I captured every sound, every move, every shameful little second of it. The way she clawed at his back, the way she moaned his name, Adam, with more passion than she'd said mine in months. The way he grunted like an animal, calling her, baby, and, so fucking hot, in between thrusts. I recorded until they finished. Until he collapsed on top of her, both of them breathing hard and exchanging sloppy kisses. Until she giggled, actually giggled, and said, "We've got to stop meeting like this," in a playful tone I hadn't heard from her in years. "Can't help it," he replied, nuzzling her neck. "The kids at my mother's, Sarah's at her yoga retreat until Sunday, and you." He ran a hand down her naked body. "You're too fucking sexy to resist." I backed away from the door, my phone clutched in my hand like a lifeline. Like evidence at a crime scene. Which, in a way, it was. Evidence of the murder of my marriage. I slipped out of the apartment as quietly as I'd entered. Went down to my car and sat there for hours, rain pattering on the windshield, the video playing on loop on my phone. Every time I watched it, I felt something inside me harden. Calcify. By the time darkness fell, there wasn't an ounce of warmth left in my chest. That night, I came home late. Pretended I'd been at work, then grabbed a beer and crashed on the couch. Jamie was in the kitchen, humming to herself as she made dinner, pasta with actual ground beef in the sauce, a luxury we rarely afforded. She seemed happy. Glowing, even. "How was your day?" she asked, setting a plate in front of me. I looked up at her, this woman I'd promised to love for better or worse, and saw a stranger. A liar. A cheat. "Same old shit," I replied, taking a bite of food that tasted like ashes in my mouth. "You." "Oh, you know." She shrugged, not quite meeting my eyes. "Ellie's a handful, but she's sweet. We played princesses all afternoon." The lie slid off her tongue so easily. I wondered how many other lies she'd told me. How long this had been going on. If there had been others before Adam Carmichael and his investment banker Dick. "That's nice," I said, and forced a smile that felt like it might crack my face in half. We ate in silence after that. She tried to make small talk a couple times, but I kept my answers short. Not enough to raise suspicion, but enough to let her know I wasn't in a chatty mood. She blamed it on work stress. If only she knew. I waited until the next morning. Waited until she was in the shower, the sound of running water masking my movements as I packed her things. Not all of them, just enough. Enough clothes for a week, her toothbrush, her makeup bag. I stuffed it all into the suitcase we bought for a vacation we never took because money got tight. Then I connected my phone to our TV and queued up the video. Set it to play on a loop. Turned the volume up just enough so it would be the first thing she heard when she stepped out of the bathroom. The water shut off. I sat on the couch, her packed suitcase at my feet, and waited. The door to the bathroom opened, releasing a cloud of steam. Jamie stepped out, a towel wrapped around her body, another around her hair. She looked fresh, clean. Like she hadn't done one of the dirtiest things one person can do to another. She didn't notice the TV right away. Started heading toward the bedroom, probably to get dressed for another day of babysitting. "Jamie," I said, my voice flat. Emotionless. She turned, a questioning look on her face. Then her eyes landed on the TV screen. On the footage of her and Adam Carmichael, their bodies tangled together on our spare bed. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might pass out. She stood there frozen, dripping wet, watching herself get wrecked by the guy who signs her babysitting checks. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, no sound coming out. "Dawn." That's all she managed to say. My name. As if saying it might somehow erase what I was seeing, what I had seen, what was playing in high definition on our TV. I held up a finger. "Don't," I said. "You're done here." She tried to speak again, tears suddenly streaming down her face to mix with the shower water. "I can explain." "Explain what?" I asked, still in that flat voice that didn't even sound like me. "Explain how you've been fucking the guy you're supposed to be babysitting for. In our home. In our bed. While you're supposed to be watching his kid." "It's not," the kid wasn't, she was stammering now, the towel slipping a little as she gesticulated wildly. "Dawn, please, it was a mistake. A stupid mistake." "A mistake is forgetting to pay the electric bill," I said, standing up now. "A mistake is burning dinner. Fucking your employer in our home while I bust my ass at a job I hate to keep a roof over our heads. That's not a mistake, Jamie. That's a choice. A series of choices, actually." She was full-on sobbing now, the kind of ugly crying that makes snot run from your nose and your chest heave. The towel had slipped further, exposing one breast, the same breast that Adam Carmichael had been pawing at on the video still playing in the background. "I'm sorry," she wailed. "Dawn, I'm so sorry. I love you. It didn't mean anything." I laughed then. A harsh, bitter sound that seemed to echo in our small apartment. "Yeah, that's real convincing with your fuck session playing on repeat." I nudged the suitcase with my foot, pushing it toward her. "I packed some of your things. You should get dressed and go." "Go?" She looked bewildered, as if the concept of consequences was completely foreign to her. "Go where?" "I don't know, and I don't care," I replied honestly. "Maybe your boyfriend can put you up in a hotel. Or maybe his wife would like to hear all about your babysitting techniques." Her eyes widened at that. "You wouldn't." "I already did." It was a lie, but the look of absolute horror on her face was worth it. Worth every second of pain and humiliation I'd endured since walking in on them. "Get dressed," I said, turning away from her. "You've got 15 minutes to get out of my apartment." "Your apartment?" Her voice had taken on a shrill note now. "This is our apartment, Dawn. I pay half the rent." I turned back to her slowly. "Actually, you don't. Your name's not on the lease because your credit was shit when we moved in, remember? And as for paying half the rent, well, I'm pretty sure sleeping with your boss isn't the kind of employment that holds up in court. She stared at me, mouth agape, as the reality of her situation slowly sank in. I watched the progression of emotions across her face: disbelief, anger, fear, and finally, defeat. "Fine," she whispered, shoulders slumping. "Can I at least get dressed in private?" I nodded toward the bedroom. "Go ahead. 14 minutes now." She scurried to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I could hear her sobbing through the thin walls as she presumably pulled on clothes and tried to process the implosion of her life. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sorrow, not even anger anymore. Just a vast, echoing emptiness where my feelings for her used to be. True to my word, I sent the video, anonymously, of course, to Sarah Carmichael. Found her email on the website for some charity she chaired. "Thought you should know what your husband and his babysitter are up to while you're at yoga," I wrote in the email. Then I attached the video and hit send. And just to make sure the fallout was nuclear, I also sent it the mother of the kid my wife was supposed to be watching, Mrs. Peterson, whose contact info Jamie had scribbled on our fridge whiteboard for emergencies. "Might want to find a new sitter," I wrote. "Seems yours is busy with extracurricular activities." Jamie emerged from the bedroom fully dressed, her face blotchy from crying, dragging the suitcase I'd packed. She looked small suddenly. Diminished. "Can we please talk about this?" she begged, making one last attempt. "Dawn, 8 years together. Doesn't that mean something? Don't I at least deserve a chance to explain?" I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd met in college, the woman I'd thought I'd grow old with, the woman who betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. "You had your chance," I said quietly. "You've had 8 years of chances. And you threw them all away for what? A quick fuck with a rich guy? Hope it was worth it." I held the door open for her. She hesitated, then walked through it, stopping in the hallway to look back at me one more time. "I do love you," she whispered. I closed the door in her face. Locked it. Then leaned my forehead against the cool wood and finally let myself feel something, a single, choking sob that felt like it was ripped from deep inside my chest. One moment of weakness, and then it was gone. Replaced by that same cold emptiness. Within a week, the shit had hit the fan spectacularly. Sarah Carmichael had filed for divorce, citing the video as evidence. Apparently, Adam had a prenup that specifically mentioned infidelity as grounds for forfeiture of any settlement. Mrs. Peterson had spread the word through her mommy group about Jamie's extracurricular activities, ensuring she'd never work as a babysitter in this town again. And Jamie? She was jobless, homeless, and getting served by Sarah Carmichael for emotional distress or some legal bullshit that rich people can afford to pursue. Last I heard, she was crashing on her sister's couch in the next state over, blocked on all my social media, her number blocked on my phone. As for me, I was sleeping like a damn baby. Turns out, when you cut the cancer out of your life, you start healing pretty quickly. The apartment felt bigger without her things cluttering it up. The fridge was still half empty, but it was my half-empty fridge. No one to judge me if I wanted to eat cold pizza for breakfast or drink straight from the milk carton. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I'd think about her. Not with longing, but with a sort of detached curiosity, like studying a car crash you somehow walked away from. I wondered if she ever thought about what she'd thrown away. If the memory of Adam Carmichael's hands on her body was worth the cost. But mostly, I didn't think about her at all. Mostly, I just slept through the night for the first time in years, untroubled by the weight of a failing marriage or the stress of supporting someone who didn't deserve it. Mostly, I was free.